couple of weeks, you've seen the starting pitchers. You've seen the starting pitching been really good, and the hit and the bats have not come alive these last couple of weeks, other than these two series.
Well, and the starting pitching was good yesterday.
Yeah.
Kyle Gibson went 6 innings and gave up 2 runs against the best or second best hitting team in the American League. I think they'll take that just about every time.
Right.
Johnson got 4 hits.
Give me some updates on Byron Buxton and Santana. When can we anticipate on seeing those two?
Santana, as long as he doesn't have any setbacks, I think they're kind of committed now to just bring him along and bring him up and see what he can do. I know they're worried about his arm strength. The velocity has not been there, but they've given him 4 months now to prepare. I think they're on track to bringing him up. I would expect that he will start the second half with the Twins. He'll start, I think, next week. We'll see him restart his rehab assignment.
Mm-hmm.
Byron Buxton's an interesting case. I think, much like Sano, it has more to do with his overall game than just rehabbing that toe. It's kind of like a mid-season option to the minors, even though he's technically not optioned. The injury clearly affected him when he came back at the plate, and Byron needs his confidence to be a successful hitter, and he kind of lost it there. I think he's busy getting it back, so I would not be surprised if it's until the All-Star break when he comes back either, just because they want to make sure his confidence is up. But if he goes on a hitting streak at Rochester, they can always bring him back. One thing I know, the schedule really is really a slog for the Twins now. There's 1 day off between now and the All-Star break. They have 20 consecutive games without a day off leading into the break. So it would be nice if he would get back to his old self, but they don't want to rush him back because we've seen what happens when they do.
I think it's frustrating for Twins fans because you saw what Byron Buxton did last season in the second half of the season, where he was doing it all. I mean, we've gotten a taste of what this kid could be, and now this year, I mean, it's just been frustrating watching him, and it's more of a mental thing at this point, in my opinion. I just think that hitting is mental to me. And he's struggled mightily, and hopefully he can get that confidence back in the minors. Phil, I appreciate you coming and giving me the time. I hope you can come back on the show in the near future.
Sure, Steve. I enjoyed it. Give me a call anytime.
Thanks, man. All right, Phil Miller of the Star Tribune. Since this is being posted Sunday, the Twins begin a 9-game road trip starting in Chicago tonight. So there's been a lot of this has been the most drama-filled offseason for the Minnesota Timberwolves in probably their franchise's history. You've got a lot of turmoil going on. At first, it was Karl Anthony Towns having internal issues with the front office. That was solved. Now you get a report that Jimmy Butler has problems with Andrew Wiggins' work ethic and lackadaisical defense, according to Sean Devaney of the Sporting News. And I don't think Butler's the only one that has a problem with Wiggins' work ethic or lackadaisical defense either, because I think most fans feel the same exact way. And I was thinking about this. I really do think it's time for the Timberwolves to, and I can't even say move on because Wiggins has only been there for a few years, but I think in this case, where your bread and butter is with Butler and Towns. Towns is the most talented player to this team, but Butler is the most valuable player to this team. And I'm just not sure where Wiggins fits in all of this, because you've seen flashes of Andrew Wiggins, but there hasn't been this consistency to him. There's no emotion when he plays. Basketball is an emotional game. And you see time and time again where Andrew Wiggins is just sitting there, no facial expression after he gets beat on a drive or someone makes a shot in his face. It's almost like you want to light a fire under, like, come on, show me something. Because, if you're trying to defend and you're trying to be with guys like Jimmy Butler and Karl Towns, who obviously have emotion, if you want to be a stone cold cat like Kawhi Leonard, you got to show it. Andrew Wiggins acts like Kawhi Leonard, but he doesn't play like him. And when you want to play with guys like Jimmy Butler, who have made it in this league because of their tenacious defense. Obviously, he's going to have a problem with a younger guy, that's not working hard or not engaged defensively. I look at the Timberwolves, and you can't have three guys thinking they're the number one option. And I think this is the case right here. You've got three guys, three really talented players. And obviously Wiggins feels like the odd man out, and he is the odd man out at this point. You look around the West, there is tons of talent. And I think that the Timberwolves need to understand that teamwork and team chemistry will beat the more talented teams. Maybe not the Golden State Warriors, but we see the Utah Jazz, right? They don't have more talented players than the Oklahoma City Thunder did at the time, but they played more as a team. They were well coached. They moved the ball around. They had each other's back. I don't know if this team necessarily has that. I think a lot of them have egos. I really do. And I think it's time that the Timberwolves said, you know what? We're committing to Jimmy Butler, and we're committing to Karl Anthony Towns. We signed Andrew Wiggins. I understand that, but it's maybe time to shop him. Because I look at the Timberwolves roster, they have a bunch of A players, and they have a bunch of C's, and you have to get more B players. So I printed out the roster, and I just wanted to really just show how, this bench this year, if the Timberwolves don't make any moves, and I know they just drafted Josh Ogie from Georgia Tech, and they drafted Keita Bates Diop from Ohio State. But if I'm reading the roster right now, Cole Aldridge, D, Bielija, C, Aaron Brooks, D, Jimmy Butler, A, Gorgie Dang, C+ to B-, Marcus Georges-Hunt, D, Taj Gibson, B-, Tyus Jones, C. We don't know what's happened with Justin Patton. We haven't really seen him. Derrick Rose is a C. Jeff Teague is a B. Towns is an A. Wiggins is a B. The bench is really bad, and this is the reason why the Wolves struggled late in games. Their starters are tired, and we know Tom Thibodeau can really play these starters into the ground. And at the end of games, the Wolves are out of gas. Let's be honest. There's a lot of games this year that the Timberwolves should have won that they gave away in the fourth quarter. The Timberwolves are a very top-heavy team. You've got your starters who are pretty good. You've got your Jeff Teague. You've got your Jimmy Butler, your Wiggins, your Towns, your Gibson. But other than that, who's coming off this bench? You're relying on Tyus Jones. You're relying on, I don't even know how to say his first name, Bielija. You're relying on Gorgie Dang. Those are nice players. But this isn't a contending team with this roster. You need to get more B's on this team. You got 2 D players, 3 D players in Cole Aldridge, Aaron Brooks, and Marcus Georges-Hunt. Those guys, they didn't play. They couldn't play. You got a bunch of C's. Karl Towns is eligible for a 5-year, $156 million extension, and Butler's eligible for a 5-year, $219. It's time for the Timberwolves to go out. They got to shop Wiggins, and you've got to get good B players on your bench because it's just not good enough right now. Offensively, look, Thibodeau pushed them from 10th in the league to 4th this year. Their defensive rating, which I think is the biggest disappointment, went from 26 to 22. And you know what the sad part about all of this is? Thibodeau, after just his second season, ranks 3rd in the franchise, short history in wins, and 2nd in all-time winning percentage with .476. That is a... I didn't have a head-scratcher today, but boy, that would have been my head-scratcher. .476, and that's the second in all-time winning percentage? That speaks volume about how poor this franchise has been. But I'm looking at the Timberwolves right now, and I'm saying this. You go out, you have to shop Andrew Wiggins because you're going to get a good return for him. Very young. He's got potential, but it hasn't panned out the way the Timberwolves have expected him to do. You go out, you go try to get a couple of B players and put them on your bench. Maybe trade him to Brooklyn, bring back a DeMar Carroll, a couple other pieces. Maybe get an Allen Crabbe. But this league is built on depth. You look at the Golden State Warriors. Forget Kevin Durant. Forget Steph Curry. Forget Klay Thompson. You got to look at their bench. Sean Livingston comes off there. Really supplies a spark. I mean, their bench is very deep. Andre Iguodala. And I know that's a luxury that they have these guys that are playing on the words and that will take the pay cut that will come off the bench for them. But the Timberwolves need to kind of look at their team and look at the Timberwolves team. You need to go out and you need to get B players. Because at the end of the day, this roster that they have, it's just not good enough. And you know that the Warriors are going to be here for the next couple of years. Karl Towns is young. Jimmy Butler is in his prime. This team's time to win is these 3 to 5 years. And they got to figure it out. You have to slay the dragon. There wouldn't be, and let's be honest here, I want the Timberwolves to take down the Warriors in a best of 7. Like, that's what you want as a fan. You see the Warriors winning every single year. I don't want to wait until they're gone and Durant left and Curry's not as good and Klay left. I want to beat them now. Don't you feel like that? Like last year, I wanted the Vikings to play the Patriots. I wanted to slay the Giant. I wanted to beat Tom Brady. And the Timberwolves have a chance because Karl Towns is a top 10 player in this league. Jimmy Butler is one of the best two-way guards in the NBA. You got some good pieces around, but you need to solidify that bench. Because this year, that bench is weak. And now you got Jamal Crawford leaving. That was your offensive spark. You got to go out. First of all, you got to hope that this guy Josh Okogie is good and Bates Diop comes in and plays pretty well. But you need to add another couple pieces. And I'd be the first one to put out Wiggins and say, listen, here he is. What do you want for him? Coming up next year, love it or leave it. So Wednesday, I went to Brooklyn. I'm a big Grayson Allen fan. I went to Brooklyn to go meet him, and I got a picture with him, and I said, I hope the Timberwolves draft you. And I'm watching this draft yesterday, and the Timberwolves are on the clock. It says, best available, Aaron Holiday, number 2, Grayson Allen. I am on the edge of my seat. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, we're going to get Allen. This is who I wanted. Guy that can really shoot the ball well. He can really play defense, very athletic, led the combine in the vertical, set the record in the NBA combine history in the shuttle run. And they draft Josh Okogie. And there's no disrespect to the kid. I really wanted Allen badly, or even Holiday. Because I look at Okogie, and the first thing that people said, oh, he's a perimeter pit bull. I'm like, oh, of course. Tom Thibodeau at its best. So, all right, let's start it up here. Love it or leave it. Usually I have music to this, and it's tough. I got to get some copyrights to this because it's just not the same. I like having the music in the background. I tell you if I love it or leave it. Whatever. Got to get that. All right, first one here. So the Minnesota Vikings are planning to induct Dennis Green into the Ring of Honor at halftime versus the Buffalo Bills on September 23rd. Love it or leave it. I love this one. I love Dennis Green. I loved him. First of all, I hope he's watching over us right now. Unbelievable coach. 4 division titles, 8 playoff appearances. He was a great mentor to his players. He was a great leader. And let's not forget, Dennis Green took a chance on the greatest receiver of all time, Randy Moss. You remember that 1998 draft. No one wanted this guy. They were very weary of Randy Moss and what he'd bring to their team. Dennis Green sat him down and said, hey, we're going to take a chance on you. Randy actually was getting, I watched his, I forget where, I watched it on Vikings.com. Randy Moss got very emotional talking about Dennis Green and you know, that he got into the Ring of Honor and they definitely had a deep connection. You could tell in the interview, Randy Moss started to cry a little. And that just shows that this sports in general, man, the player-coach relationship, it can either be really bad, it can be good, or it can be really tight, the way Green and Moss was. And it really turned out to be one of the best picks in franchise history. I mean, Randy Moss was my favorite Viking of all time. unbelievable talent. I've never seen anything like it. You tell me, guy, and I hate when people will tell me, oh, Odell Beckham, Julio Jones, Antonio Brown. I don't care about those three because I'll take Randy Moss over anybody in his prime. Nobody can guard